The United Auto Workers strike against the big three automakers is expanding dramatically today. The UAW president provided an update on negotiations earlier today, announcing that union members at 38 locations in 20 states in all 9 regions of the UAW are being called on to stand up and walk out. Those locations are centered on Stellantis and GM facilities after union leaders say some progress was made with Ford during the week.
But to be clear, we're not done at Ford. We still have serious issues to work through, but we do want to recognize that Ford is showing that they're serious about reaching a deal. At GM and Stellantis, it's a different story.
The strike had been initially limited to 3 locations and about 12,700 workers at one assembly plant for each automaker. Those numbers will now grow significantly as the UAW strike expands to all of the parts distribution facilities for GM and Stellantis from coast to coast. Fain also left open the possibility of a greater expansion if negotiations continue to falter. One of the unions hitting the picket lines today was UAW Local 75 in Milwaukee. It posted a note telling workers they should reach out to local leadership or contact their strike captain. The union represents workers at the Milwaukee Parts Center, a Stellantis plant. We will continue to keep you updated on the latest information on the strike from the News Now desk.